I still remember the day the winds changed in our village of Mkondo, nestled among the rolling hills of KwaZulu-Natal. It was a day that began like any other, with the sun rising over the acacia trees and the distant lowing of cattle. But by nightfall, a story had unfolded that would be told around our fires for generations, a story of a young teacher, a proud billionaire, and an elder whose wisdom turned our world upside down. I, Sifo Mthembu, was there, a mere herd boy then, watching it all with wide eyes. This is no folk tale spun for amusement. It's the truth of what I saw, a tale of heart and courage that taught us what it means to be truly rich. Sit with me, and let me take you back to that dusty summer day in Mkondo, where a single act of kindness sparked a fire that still burns in our hearts. Our village, Mkondo, was a small place, where mud brick huts with thatched roofs stood proudly under the vast African sky. The air carried the scent of red earth and wood smoke, and the laughter of children playing with homemade wire cars echoed through the paths. We lived simply, growing maize and pumpkins, tending cattle and gathering at the kraal for stories under the stars. Our lives were woven together by Ubuntu, the belief that we are all connected, that a person is a person through other people. At the heart of Mkondo was our school, a single-room building with a tin roof that rattled in the rain. It wasn't much, but it was ours, built by the hands of our fathers and mothers. The teacher was Nobule Dlamini, a young woman with a smile that could chase away storm clouds. Nobule was only 23, with no wealth to her name, but her heart was richer than the gold mines of Johannesburg. She walked 2 hours each morning from her family's hut, her worn sandals kicking up dust, to teach our children under the flickering light of a single bulb. Nobula wasn't just a teacher, she was a dreamer. She believed every child in Mkondo deserved to read, to write, to imagine a world beyond the hills. She carried an old, tattered book of Zulu folk tales, its pages yellowed but loved, and read to us stories of heroes and tricksters. "Knowledge is our shield," she'd say, her eyes shining. "It's the one thing no one can take from you." But teaching wasn't easy. The school had no desks, only benches made from crates, and the chalkboard was cracked. Textbooks were shared, one for every 5 children, and some days, Nobuli skipped meals to buy pencils with her small salary. I was 15 then, tending my father's cattle, but I'd sneak to the school window to listen to Nobul's lessons. I wasn't enrolled. My family couldn't afford the fees, but her voice carried hope, and I drank it in like water from a spring. That's how I first saw the stranger, the day everything changed. It was a scorching afternoon, the kind where the heat shimmers on the horizon and the cicadas hum like a choir. I was driving the cattle back from the river when I saw an old man sitting under an umkanyakude tree, its fever-yellow leaves offering little shade. He was thin, his clothes tattered, a faded shirt, patched trousers, and no shoes. His face was lined like the bark of an old tree, but his eyes held a quiet strength. A worn walking stick rested across his knees, and beside him was a small bundle tied in cloth. I stopped, curious. Strangers were rare in Mkondo. "Sawubona, Baba," I greeted, using the respectful term for an elder. "Are you lost?" He smiled, his teeth stained but warm. "Sawubona, Mafana. I'm just resting. The road has been long." I offered him water from my gourd, and he drank gratefully. "Where are you going, Baba?" I asked. "To find truth," he said, his voice soft but heavy, like a river stone. "I seek someone with a heart as big as this land I didn't understand." But his words stuck with me. I pointed him toward the village, warning him to avoid the rocky path where snakes hid. As I left, I saw Nobuli approaching, her school bag slung over her shoulder. She stopped when she saw the old man, her face softening with concern. "Baba, you shouldn't sit in this heat," she said, kneeling beside him. She opened her bag and pulled out a maize cob wrapped in cloth. Her lunch. Here, eat this. And come, there's shade at the school. The old man hesitated, but Nobule's smile was insistent. She helped him to his feet, her arm steady under his, and they walked slowly toward the school. I followed at a distance, curious. Nobule didn't know I was watching, but I saw the way she spoke to him, like he was her own grandfather, calling him Gogo Mukulu. With respect, she sat him on a bench outside the school, fetched water from the village pump, and even gave him her own scarf to shield his head from the sun. That's when I heard the roar of an engine, a sound foreign to Mkondo. A sleek black car, shining like a beetle's shell, rolled into the village, kicking up clouds of dust. The children stopped playing, and even the goats scattered. Out stepped a man in a tailored suit, his shoes polished to a mirror shine. It was Vusi Nkosi, the billionaire who owned half the private schools in Durban. Everyone knew his name, but not his face. Until now, Vusi Nkosi was a tall man with a sharp jaw and eyes that cut like a blade. He'd grown up in a village like ours, or so the rumors said, but now he lived in a mansion with gates taller than our huts. His company, Nkosi Education, ran elite academies for the children of the wealthy with fees higher than a year's harvest. He'd come to Mkondo with a plan to buy our school's land and build a private academy, one that would serve rich families from the city. Not us. The village elders gathered at the kraal to meet him, their faces stern. I hid behind a thorn bush. Listening, Vusi stood before them, his voice smooth as honey. "This academy will bring jobs," he said. "Paved roads, electricity, progress. Your children can attend if they pass the entrance exam." The elders murmured, "Nkosi Methethwa." Our chief stroked his beard. "And our school. Our children learn there now for free." Vusi smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Your school is falling apart. My academy will be modern, with computers and books. Trust me, this is for Mkondo's future." I saw Nobule standing at the edge of the crowd, her arms crossed. She stepped forward, her voice steady but respectful. "With respect, Mnumzane, Nkosi. Our school may be simple, but it serves every child. Your academy will exclude most of us. How is that progress?" Vusi's smile faltered. "Young lady, you're the teacher. Yes, you should understand education is for those who can afford it. The rest can work the fields." The crowd gasped. Nobule's eyes flashed, but she held her tongue. Nkosi Methethwa raised a hand. "We will discuss this. Come back tomorrow. Nkosi." As Vusi drove off, I saw the old man watching from the school steps, his eyes narrowed. Nobule returned to him, offering a cup of tea brewed on the school's small stove. "Don't mind him, Gogo Mukulu," she said. "He doesn't know our village." The old man nodded slowly. "He knows wealth, but not value," he said, his voice low. I wondered what he meant, but I didn't ask. I had cattle to tend. The next morning, the village was abuzz. Vusi's car returned this time with a trailer carrying shiny desks and a projector. "Gifts," he said to show his commitment. The children crowded around, touching the desks with awe. But I noticed the old man again, sitting quietly by the school, watching Vusi with those piercing eyes. Nobule was teaching her class when the old man approached her. "Montanami," he said, using the term for my child, "I have a request. I am an elder seeking to learn. Will you teach me as you teach these children?" Nobule blinked, surprised, but her smile returned. "Of course, Gogo Mukulu. Join us. We're reading about King Sheikah today." I peeked through the window as the old man sat among the children, listening intently as Nobule read from her tattered book. She explained Shaka's strategies, his courage, and his flaws, her voice weaving history into life. The old man asked questions, simple but deep, and Nobule answered with patience even when the children giggled at his accent. That afternoon, Vusi visited the school, his suit crisp despite the heat. He saw the old man and frowned. "Who's this?" he asked, his tone sharp. "This isn't a place for vagrants." Nobuli stood tall. "He's my student Mnumzane. Everyone is welcome to learn here." Vusi laughed a cold sound. "You waste time on old men when you could teach in my academy with proper resources. Join me and you'll have a real salary." Nobula's jaw tightened. "I teach for my people, not for money." Vusi's eyes narrowed, but he said nothing more. As he left, the old man whispered to Nobula, "You have a strong heart, Mentanami, but be ready. A test is coming." I didn't know what he meant, but his words sent a shiver down my spine. The next day, Vusi called a village meeting at the kraal. The elders, women, and even children gathered, the air thick with tension. Vusi stood before us, his voice booming. "I've decided to prove my academy's worth. I challenge your teacher, Nobule, to a test. Let her and I each teach a class for the village's orphans, those with no parents to pay fees. We'll see whose lesson inspires them most. The winner decides the school's future." The crowd murmured Inkosi, and Mthethwa nodded slowly. "A fair challenge, Nobule." "Do you accept?" Nobule stepped forward, her head high. "I accept for Mkondo's children." I saw the old man in the crowd, his eyes gleaming. He approached Vusi after the meeting, his voice humble. "Mnumzane, I am an elder with no family. May I join the orphans in this lesson?" Vusi waved a hand dismissively. "Fine, old man, but don't expect much from her teaching." The old man smiled faintly and walked away. I followed him. "Curious, Baba, why do you want to learn?" I asked. He looked at me, his eyes like deep wells. "To find a heart that teaches truth. Nifana, watch, and you'll see." The test was set for the following week under the great marula tree in the village square. Nobule prepared tirelessly, gathering sticks to make slates, borrowing books from a neighboring village, and practicing her lesson at night by candlelight. I helped her carry water and clean the school, watching her work with a fire in her eyes. The day arrived and the village gathered. Elders in traditional ibheshu, women in colorful headscarves, and children sitting cross-legged on mats. The orphans, 20 of them, sat in front, their clothes patched but clean. The old man sat among them, his walking stick across his lap. Nobule began her lesson with a song, a Zulu hymn about unity that we all knew. The children joined in, their voices rising like a river. Then she opened her tattered book and told a story, not of kings or warriors, but of a girl from a village like ours who learned to read and changed her family's life. She taught the orphans to write their names in the dust, praising each one by name. "Sibusiso, your S is strong like a bull. Nompumalelo, your letters dance like the wind." The old man wrote too, his hand shaky but determined. When he finished, he showed her his slate where he'd written Siabonga. "Thank you," Nobule smiled, tears in her eyes. "You're welcome, Gogo Mahulu." She ended with a question. "What does Ubuntu mean to you?" The orphans answered shyly at first, then boldly, "Sharing, helping, loving." The old man spoke last. "Ubuntu is giving when you have nothing, because you know we are all one." The crowd clapped, their faces glowing. I felt my chest swell with pride. Nobule had taught not just letters but heart. Vusi's turn came the next day. He arrived with a truck full of shiny desks, a projector, and a laptop, things we'd only seen in pictures. The children gasped, but the elders watched silently. Vusi wore a new suit, his watch glinting in the sun. He set up a screen under the marula tree and began his lesson, projecting images of cities and technology. "Education is power," he said, his voice loud. "My academy will teach you to be doctors, lawyers, engineers. Learn my way, and you'll leave this village behind." He showed the orphans how to use a tablet, but his instructions were sharp, impatient. When a girl Thandiwe dropped the tablet, he snapped, "Careful, these cost more than your hut." The children shrank back, their excitement fading. The old man sat quietly watching, but not touching the tablet. Vusi's lesson was about math, fractions and equations he wrote on a whiteboard, his marker squeaking. But the orphans struggled, their hands unused to such tools, when the old man asked a question. "How does this help us care for each other?" Vusi laughed. "Old man, this isn't about feelings, it's about success." The lesson ended abruptly when Vusi's projector overheated. The children were quiet, their eyes dull. Vusi packed up, muttering about ungrateful villagers. The crowd dispersed, whispering. I saw Nobuli comforting Thendiwe, who was crying. "You did well, Mntanami," she said. "You're enough." That evening, the elders called a final meeting to decide the school's fate. The air was heavy, the stars bright above. Vusi stood confidently, but Nobul looked tired, her hands clasped tightly. I stood at the back, my heart pounding. Then the old man stepped forward, his tattered clothes replaced by a fine ibishu and a beaded necklace. The crowd gasped. Nkosi Mthethwa bowed low. "Baba Zwane, you honor us." The old man was Mkhulu Zwane, a billionaire philanthropist who'd funded schools across South Africa. He'd come to Mkondo in disguise, seeking a teacher with a true heart. "I've seen enough," he said, his voice strong. "Vusi Nkosi, your lesson taught ambition, but it lacked soul. You see these children as tools for profit, not people. Nobule Dlamini, you taught with love, giving even when you had little. You are the teacher this village needs." He turned to the crowd. "I will fund a new school for Mkondo, one that keeps Nobule's heart at its center. No child will be turned away." The village erupted in cheers. Nobule's eyes filled with tears, and she knelt before Mkhulu. "Zwane Siyabonga, Baba, I'll teach with all I have." Vusi's face darkened. "This is a mistake," he snapped. "My academy would have made this village rich." Mkhulu Zwane shook his head. "Wealth without Ubuntu is empty Nkosi. Go and learn what it means to be human." Vusi stormed off, his car speeding into the night. The village sang and danced, celebrating Nobule and the new school. I joined them, my heart full. I'd seen a miracle, not of magic, but of kindness. The new school was built within a year, with sturdy walls, books for every child, and a garden where we grew vegetables for the orphans. Nobuli remained our teacher, but now she had desks, a proper chalkboard, and even a small library. She still carried her tattered book of folk tales, reading to us under the marula tree. Mkhulu Zwane visited often, always in his ibheshu, never in a suit. He'd sit with the children, telling stories of his own village days. Nobule's lessons grew stronger, blending Zulu history with math science and Ubuntu. I enrolled in the school, learning to read and write. My dreams growing like the maize in our fields. Vusi Nkosi's academy never came to Mkondo. We heard he opened one in Durban, but it struggled, his reputation tarnished. Some said he learned from his mistake, but I never saw him again. Will we leave a comment with your thoughts and stay tuned for part 2. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and turn on post notifications so you won't miss what happens next.